Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea from our source material. It's called the unfolding self. And honestly, it's a concept that might just change the way you look at, well, everything in your life.
So let's just start with a question. Have you ever had that feeling where your life, the one you've worked so hard to build, suddenly feels like an old, itchy sweater? You know, it used to be comfortable, it used to be you, but now it just feels wrong. It's too tight, and you can't really put your finger on why.
Maybe for you, it shows up as this deep, nagging dissatisfaction, even when you achieve something you thought would finally make you happy. Or maybe it's that weird feeling of being an alien among your own friends. You're laughing along, but on the inside, you feel completely disconnected. And it all leads to that huge, terrifying question, is this really all there is? If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are definitely not alone.
Because here is the absolute key to this whole thing. You aren't breaking. You're shedding. You're not falling apart. You are simply outgrowing an old version of yourself that no longer fits.
This is why our source material calls this whole messy, confusing experience a wake-up call. It's not a breakdown. It's an unfolding. It's a natural and, yeah, sometimes really uncomfortable transformation. Think about it like this. For a flower to actually bloom, that little bud has to crack open. From the bud's perspective, that must feel like the end of the world. But we, on the outside, know that's not the end. It's the very beginning of it becoming what it was always meant to be. That right there, that's the journey we're talking about.
Okay, so where do we even start with this whole unfolding thing? Well, it all begins with mastering your mind. Before you can do anything else, you have to learn how to deal with that nonstop noise in your head, what the source hilariously calls the annoying roommate living upstairs. And that roommate, it has a name, the ego. It's that voice that never, ever shuts up. It's like your own internal marketing department, constantly spinning a story about who you are. I'm smart. I'm a failure. I'm the kind of person who. It's basically a survival program you wrote for yourself as a kid, and let's be honest, the software is a little out of date. Now, this ego tends to have two favorite channels it broadcasts on. First, there's the worry wart. This voice is obsessed with past regrets or future anxieties, and it tries to control absolutely everything. Then you've got the pity party planner, who just loves drama and is constantly collecting proof of how hard and unfair life is. Do either of those sound a little familiar?
But here's the light bulb moment. The entire game changes the second you realize you are not that voice. You are the one listening to that voice. That tiny little space between the commentary and the listener, that's where all your power is.
And in that space, we meet the observer. This is the real you. It's the quiet, calm part of you that can just notice thoughts without getting all wrapped up in them. It's like sitting back and watching clouds drift across the sky. You see them, you notice them, but you don't chase after them or argue with them. You just let them pass. That's it. That's the whole practice.
So once you get a little practice just being that observer, you're ready for the next level. You're ready to explore some of the hidden parts of yourself. This brings us to healing your shadow. And yeah, it's kind of like deciding to finally go down and see what's in the basement of your mind.
Now, what exactly is the shadow? It's really important to know it's not some evil monster. It's simply all the parts of you that you were taught were bad or unacceptable. It's your anger, your neediness, your jealousy, your selfishness, all the human traits you decided weren't okay, so you shoved them into that metaphorical basement and slammed the door shut. But here's the thing about stuff you lock in the basement. It doesn't just go away. It usually just starts making a lot of noise. But believe it or not, there's a really simple trick to see exactly what you've hidden down there. And here it is. The fastest way to see your shadow is to look at what you absolutely cannot stand in other people. You know that person at work who you think is so arrogant, or that acquaintance who's just so needy it drives you crazy? Well, they might just be a mirror showing you a part of yourself you refuse to look at. We call this projection.
The source gives us a really catchy, easy way to remember this. It's simply, if you spot it, you got it. If you have a huge, over-the-top emotional reaction to a trait in someone else, chances are you're looking at a piece of your own shadow.
So you've learned to observe your mind. You've started to meet your shadow. So what's next? This is where it all comes together. We've arrived at the final stage, embodying your spirit. This is where we take all that heavy, difficult work we've done and learn how to turn it into pure gold.
Our source material calls this process spiritual alchemy, and it's a perfect metaphor.
It's about taking the heavy, dense lead of your past suffering, your pain, your mistakes, and transforming it into the bright, shining gold of wisdom, compassion, and a unique sense of purpose. And you can see that shift right here. The lead version is the victim story. It's focused on who did this to me, and it just leads to resentment and keeps you stuck. But the gold version is the survivor wisdom. It asks a different question. What did I learn from this? That shift leads to gratitude, empathy, and a real connection with others. It's the exact same set of facts, just seen through a totally different lens.
So how do you do it? Well, it's a three-step process. First, you observe the pain, but you detach from the dramatic story your ego wants to tell about it. Second, you integrate the lesson. What strength did this awful experience actually build in you? And third, you put that hard-won wisdom into service. Think about it. Someone who's been through bankruptcy doesn't just forget that pain. They can integrate the lessons of resilience and then use that understanding to help guide other people through that same scary process. They literally turn their wound into their wisdom.
And so when we pull back and look at the whole picture, we see this incredible journey of unfolding. It's a path that takes us from being a fragmented person, split between our loud ego, our hidden shadow, and our quiet spirit, to becoming a whole, integrated self.
And that brings us to this final, powerful idea. All that stuff from your past that you thought was weighing you down, your history is not an anchor. It is a map.
It's a map that shows you, with perfect clarity, where the pain exists in the world. It shows you where the light is needed most. And because you've walked that path yourself, you are now the most qualified person there is to deliver that light.
So I'll leave you with the final, big question from our source material to really think about. What if that one thing you've always seen as your greatest wound is actually the key to unlocking your greatest gift to the world?